The mining outpost on Draconv wasn't supposed to house life. Parker had read the surveys 3 times before accepting the contract. Barren rock, toxic atmosphere, mineral-rich but biologically dead. Yet here he stood in the cargo bay, staring at 2 crystalline eggs that pulsed with bioluminescent veins of violet and gold. "Parker, we need to move these." Nancy's voice crackled through his helmet comm. She stood on the other side of the cargo container, her environmental suit's headlamp cutting through the dim light. "Command's going to have questions we can't answer." Parker knelt beside the eggs, each roughly the size of a human torso. They radiated warmth even through his gloves. How did they get into a sealed shipping container? Better question, what are they? Nancy pulled out her scanner, the device chirping frantically. Biosignatures are off the charts. Carbon-based, but the DNA structure. She looked up, her face visible through the helmet's faceplate, eyes wide. "Parker, this is reading as compatible with Earth's evolutionary tree." "That's impossible." A hairline crack appeared on the nearest egg. Both humans froze. The crack widened, spreading like lightning across the crystalline surface. A small claw-scaled, iridescent, unmistakably reptilian pushed through. Then another crack formed on the second egg. "We should step back," Nancy whispered. Parker didn't move. Years of mining in hostile environments had taught him to read danger, and whatever was emerging from these eggs didn't register as a threat. The first hatchling tumbled out in a cascade of glowing fluid, a dragon, no larger than a house cat, with wings that unfurled like wet silk. Its scales shimmered between blue and silver, and when it opened its eyes, they glowed with an intelligence that made Parker's breath catch. The second hatchling emerged moments later, nearly identical, but with scales that shifted from copper to crimson. Both creatures were shivering, their wings trembling as the cargo bay's frigid air hit them. "They're freezing," Parker said, already shrugging off his thermal coat. The bay's life support kept it barely above freezing, efficient for cargo, deadly for newborns. "Parker, I'll be fine for a few minutes." He wrapped both hatchlings in the coat, gathering them against his chest. Their shivering slowed. The blue one made a sound like wind chimes, nuzzling into the fabric. The red one's tail curled around his forearm. Nancy's scanner was going wild. "This doesn't make sense. They shouldn't exist. Draconv has been dead for millions of years. Maybe not as dead as we thought." Parker felt the hatchling's heartbeats through his suit, rapid, synchronized, alive. "Nancy, check the excavation reports from Sector 7. The team found those unusual cave systems last week." She pulled up the data on her wrist display, scrolling rapidly. Underground caverns, deep, thermal vents, breathable atmosphere in some chambers, and her voice trailed off. Energy signatures consistent with a biosphere. A hidden one. The pieces fell into place. Dracon 7 wasn't dead. It had gone underground, evolved in the depths where human scanners couldn't reach. And somehow, these eggs had made it to the surface, perhaps driven by instinct to seek warmth. The blue hatchling tugged at Parker's coat with tiny claws, those intelligent eyes fixed on his face. The red one chirped, a sound of contentment and trust. "What are you going to do?" Nancy asked softly. Parker looked down at the creatures in his arms. "Protocol said to report xenobiological discoveries immediately. Command would send scientists, containment teams. These hatchlings would become specimens, studied and cataloged. Help me set up a heated enclosure in my quarters," he said finally. "Then we're going to keep working. Parker, you saw the scans, Nancy. They're compatible with our biology. That means they might understand us, learn from us. If we hand them over to Command, they become lab experiments. If we raise them," he met her gaze, "we might learn what humanity does best." Nancy was silent for a long moment, then smiled. "Adapt and protect. Very HFY of you." Over the following weeks, Parker's quarters became a nursery. The hatchlings, Nancy named them Sapphire and Ember, grew rapidly, their intelligence becoming more evident each day. They learned to respond to their names, to understand basic commands, to curl up on Parker's cot while he worked at his terminal. The mining continued. Parker pulled double shifts to make up for the time spent caring for the dragons. Nancy covered for him when needed, falsifying reports to keep Command from investigating too closely. Sapphire developed a fascination with Parker's tools, watching intently as he repaired equipment. Ember preferred Nancy's company, following her through the outpost corridors and learning to mimic her movements. One evening, as Parker reviewed mineral surveys, Sapphire tugged at his sleeve. The dragon had grown to the size of a large dog, wings now capable of short flights. She pulled him toward his coat, the same thermal one he'd first wrapped them in. "You want to go out?" Parker asked. Sapphire chirped affirmatively, Ember joining in the chorus. Parker suited up, adjusting the atmospheric processors. The dragons didn't need suits, their biology adapted to Dracon Vi's environment naturally. He opened the airlock. Outside, under the planet's 3 moons, Sapphire and Ember took flight. Their wings caught the thermal updrafts from underground vents, carrying them higher than Parker had seen them fly before. They weren't just surviving, they were thriving. Nancy joined him at the viewport. "Command's going to find out eventually, I know." Parker watched the dragons spiral through the alien sky. "But by then, maybe we'll have proven something." "What's that?" "That humanity's greatest strength isn't conquering or cataloging." He smiled as Sapphire dove low, Ember following in perfect synchronization. "It's choosing compassion when protocol says otherwise. It's wrapping something fragile in warmth and letting it grow." The dragons returned to the airlock, settling beside Parker like they belonged there. And perhaps they did, because that's what humans do. They find the lost, the abandoned, the shouldn't exist, and they choose to care anyway, even on the edge of space, even when it breaks every rule, especially then.